good afternoon. Welcome to episode 24 of the Kids Health series with Lawrence August. And we're going to chit chat a little bit today about how longevity starts when you're young. But first off, how are you, Lawrence? What's happening?
Indeed.
Nice to
I'm
see you.
really good, Heidi. Number 24.
Oot, oot.
24 for 24. I like that.
Yeah, nice
We had
little
our
even
Jordan
number.
episode last time, and this is the 24 and 24. Before we begin, you know what we got to do?
Oh, I know. And I don't think we did it last time.
We didn't?
No, isn't that funny? I
Really?
don't think we did. I've heard some nice things about that episode, by the way. Yeah, I had to get ready.
Shame
Yeah,
on
let's
us.
do
Well,
it.
okay, let's. All right, ready?
To do it twice then. Okay.
3, 2,
Two.
1. High five. Okay. People don't understand the challenge that is. It looks so pathetically easy, and it's just there's something lost in translation.
You know, that would be a good clip if we just do every high five from the past 22 episodes that we did it.
I think we need to clip those together. When we get to like our 100th episode, I think we'll have to do, you know, a nice little
sizzle reel.
Clip together. Yeah, sizzle reel.
Perfect.
Yeah. So
well, let's jump in because this might not be, we're going to keep this one short and sweet, but I think it's super duper important. So tell us, long story short, what is longevity?
Long story short, right? It's going to be a long story in a short episode. We're going to be talking about longevity in a short time. Yeah, I was thinking about this a few days back. I could quickly go to just as a reference point. Let me share screen here real quick.
And you're sharing from, just so folks know, your Instagram, kidsgethealthy.com or Kids Get Healthy USA.
It should be in the.
Here it is. Yep.
In there. Yes, Kids Get Healthy USA, where I am posting daily all the sort of latest news in the world of child health or things that I think are relevant, whether it's new studies, headlines, things that I find interesting. And to the topic of today, longevity starts young, can open up this post here. Stanford put out a finding from a study: healthy eating and activity reverse aging marker in kids with obesity. Stanford medicine-led study finds. And in this, key finding was telomere length. So telomeres, if you're not, familiar with sort of what a telomere is kind of like a region of these, DNA sequences, and they kind of butt on and protect the fraying and damaging the end of chromosomes, which all your genetic material is. And we know that as people get older, the telomere length tends to shorten. There's a lot of nuance to that, and it's not I think a perfect biomarker for longevity, but this is certainly compelling. And the study involved 158 children, age 8 to 12, BMI above the 95th percentile. Program included a traffic light approach. So you've probably seen some of these traffic light approaches where it's, red food is kind of like hold, yellow food is proceed with caution, green is sort of healthy, have at it. That was sort of how they set that up. And they lost weight, during the program with this healthy eating approach. BMI decreased. However, the change is partially reversed a year later. So this emphasized the need for consistency, right? But this telomere length, it changed independently of some of the other measures, suggesting that this could be a powerful tool for tracking the metabolic benefits. They need to continue to look at this. We can close share. I just want to kind of set up the talk for today.
Yeah.
They need to continue to look at it, but that just kind of struck me as that when we're really talking about prevention, what are we actually talking about? And the things that we're out to prevent when we're taking care of our children's health are all essentially things that decrease lifespan, and if we think of it this way, I mean, not to be fear-mongering about it, but to just really be practical and pragmatic, what we really have at stake here is longevity. We set our children up for not only more years, but better years, health
Yeah.
span and lifespan.
Hmm.
And, sort of wanted to kind of open up that idea.
Yeah.
Longevity is talked about a lot in people our age, Heidi.
I
You
know.
know,
And, we're watching our parents, our grandparents passing our parents. And you have to think about that generationally. Are my kids going to be well enough as old people to take care of me as a super old person? Longevity is a good thing.
right. I have clients, I still take adult clients, and usually as people get into their 50s and 60s, where you start to see some things, heart health, issues with diabetes. These are common issues. And we tend to, there's a kind of idea of recency bias, which applies across the board in any domain, where things that happen recent get, you know, um, a magnified amount of attention. Meaning,
Mhm.
if somebody comes to see me, maybe they made some dietary changes within the last 5 years. They go get some blood work done, might not be looking as good as they want, and they might chalk it up to, what they've been doing recently. Now,
Mhm.
certainly that matters, but we have to go back. And a lot of times we
Yeah.
have to go back all the way to childhood. Sometimes we have to go all the way back to birth.
Oh gosh,
Sometimes we
yeah.
even have to go
It's
all the way
true.
back to before they were born, meaning
In utero
the the health
or
of the
the
mom,
parent.
the health of the
Yeah.
dad, the fertility from the very moment. I mean, this is how deep it can get. And sometimes what we're seeing at age 50, 55, and 60 was a result of some things that were set up when we were younger. Now, the good
That's
news is
super true.
I'm a
Mm.
hopeful optimist. I think we can improve these things, but
Mhm.
it's a lot easier to prevent them from happening in the first place.
I know when you look at it less as, "Oh, this is a moment of gluttony," and more like, "This is about the longevity of the human species." Like, that's what we're looking at. I
Right,
mean,
right,
we've been
right.
dumbing ourselves down for so long, like, let's flip it. Let's focus on
Absolutely.
longevity. Everyone's
Abs-
waiting for med beds. I'm like, "Be the med bed now."
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. We just sort of there's this idea of like, and I talk a lot about this concept of you have to think about what you want now and then what you want most. And
Mhm.
sometimes those things don't align. What we want
Mhm.
to kind of do in the moment, does that actually map out to what we want most, for our life, for our health? And this applies to pretty much everything. But in the case of taking care of yourself, you know, um, the empowerment of making those choices. And we know one phenomenon, that delayed gratification is one of those things that they've studied many, many times in children, that children that are better at delaying gratification. In other words, the understanding that, okay, I have to give up a little now, but for a bigger reward later, those children tend to succeed in other domains later in life. Whereas the children that I want it now, that they're sort of stuck in that constantly shooting themselves in the foot phenomenon.
Mhm. Mhm.
And introducing children to this kind of thing of, you invest now, and you may not see, the result right away, right? It's hard to, I think it's hard to think of these things because we're not seeing it immediately.
Mhm. Mhm.
And when we get to the point when we do, this is sort of one of the bugaboos of the human condition, of the pain, right? We've talked last episode about pleasure and pain and
Mhm.
what motivates our behaviors. Often we wait until it becomes painful
Mhm.
to change and to think about,
Mhm.
oh, what do I need to do now? And so I would just invite people to consider this idea of longevity, as most parents think about it, and most grandparents are thinking about it, but not through the lens of their children or grandchildren.
Right. And you're talking about as far as healthy eating patterns, staying physically fit, like those setting yourself up for success for your health and
Absolutely.
nutrition. So there's your longevity. Is that what you're speaking of, or
Absolutely.
yeah?
And
Okay.
you know what? That actually leads into one more thing. Let's do another quick share. Um, I'm going to Actually, let me open this up again because you just reminded me of something interesting. I think this is relevant. So Heidi, good job. You jarred my mind here, because I thought that this was fascinating. Let me
Okay.
pull it up. Okay, let's
Well,
go
we have
back to the grid.
back to the
Uh,
grid.
Back to the
Kids can
grid.
help you with your
Family
Instagram.
environment. Okay,
Oh, here
so
we go.
family
Okay. Yeah.
environment,
Remember this one?
right? This goes into adverse childhood events. Now,
Oh.
and this is an incredible
Oh,
subject.
yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
and this particularly looked at kids with abusive parents and, more likely to have bad heart health,
Yeah.
cardiovascular health. And on the flip side of that, children with positive childhood relationships scored 25% higher in heart health later in life. Now, this particular study, I put the PMID up on there. Now, the PMID, guys, for those who aren't familiar with that, is the PubMed identification number. So it makes it easy to find these studies. You don't have to type in the long study title on there. So you see that study title is rather long. If you just
Mhm.
punch in Google search the PMID number, you'll be able to find that study. So we can close that.
Uh-huh. You
And that just opens up, again, to the point of holistic, right? So, yes, it's
Yeah.
food, yes, it's exercise, but it's relationships.
Yes, thank you. I'm so glad you're bringing this up. I want to interject really quick about the heart because I was just talking to my mom about this. This week is a 1 year anniversary of a memorial for a dear friend of ours in one of our communities out here. And this woman was mid 70s, but holy smokes, I don't think a GMO ever passed her lips. She had a rife machine at home. She body work. She did the works. Her body was ailing, but here's the thing: she was one bitter woman.
Mm,
Lot of projecting, lot of blame
mm,
this community she used to live in. Like she was
mhm,
always like mad about something. So
mhm,
you see these choices, but it was
mhm.
her mental health that deteriorated her heart. Her heart
Yes.
was dark and it was a heart attack. And you'd think with all those healing modalities that
Mhm.
she would live till 110. She went out and we say from a darkness on her heart. Like
Yeah.
that was,
That
I
was
mean,
the
that's
chink
my
chink in
thing.
the armor. That and this
Yeah.
happened this actual phenomenon happens a lot, believe it or not, where the fixations on all of these health modalities, the perfect food, everything's gotta be just right, but they're wound so tightly that they're ignoring that other pillar of health, mental health, emotional health, and that bitterness, that fight, that anger.
Anger.
And you
Mhm.
can measure this, in a person's blood and the stress
Mm.
of that. And we know to go to longevity, and this has been revealed in the last year or so, social bonds, connections, that element leads to those are the longest lived people. You know, the longest lived people have great social bonds and connections. And
Mhm.
the blame, the blame thing, it's talk about a surrender of power,
Yeah. Yeah.
when everything else is this way or that way, and you just express such disappointment, you're projecting all your anger out into the world. It's not conducive to good health. And you can eat all the
Yeah.
perfect organic food you want in the world and
Yep.
rife
Yep.
yourself up and
Yep.
do
Do
whatever
all
you
this
got.
tools, but if you're walking around talking ill about people or telling I'm
Yeah.
this way because of them, there's a dark cloud over you. We used to call her Eeyore, but
Oh, no.
we'd tell her that. We'd be like, "Come on, what a lovely life." You're like, we're trying to lift, but she's like,
And
still
I
though, clean
where
eating.
I go to with that, though, where I go to go one step further is to say,
Uh-huh.
I'm very curious about her childhood. I'm very curious about
Yes, that
what
was my
she was
next step.
exposed to.
Yep.
What are those,
Mhm. Yeah, what
I've sort
happened
of read
there?
different things about, like, we have 4, maybe 5 key childhood experiences that inform our bigger worldview, meaning, that thing that is said at the right time, the right thing said at the right time, or potentially the wrong thing said at the wrong time can change the direction of a child's future, for better or worse.
Mhm.
And I always wonder about those key moments, where something was said, some punishment was given, something went awry, and she had that fundamental worldview, and
Yeah.
and was never able to heal that, to close that loop.
Yeah.
And so that is why, part of that work. And so to think of it all, I mean, anybody listening, um, to go back to to go back and heal your own child, meaning you, there's that,
Uh-huh.
right? So the longevity
Yes.
starts young. I really do believe you can go back, revisit, forgive.
Absolutely.
One of the other elements of longevity that I will die on this hill is forgiveness,
Yes.
and
Thank
in
you.
healing in general. And that is
Yeah.
forgiving others. That is forgiving yourself. And many people feel that they've done that, but when you can draw more out of them, they realize that there's a lot left on that road.
Mm-hmm.
And I've
Mm-hmm.
seen it within my own family. I've seen it in practice through years of working in integrative medicine, going, attending seminars, conferences, speaking to, healers and some of the top doctors really in the country. This idea of forgiveness gets brought up a lot, a
I love
lot.
hearing that. I'm so glad to hear that. Yep. And
It
it's
is a
not just
beautiful
it
thing.
brings up a lot in your medical communities, but I wish it was more common for the common man. I mean, it is a
Sure.
simple tool that anybody can do is to dig deep and heal themselves so they can forgive others.
And
Or you
how do we
forgive others
teach
and
our
then you start
children
healing yourself.
forgiveness, right? I mean, how do we teach
Yeah.
our children like, you speak the language of forgiveness. You
Yeah.
demonstrate forgiveness.
Yeah.
You demonstrate
And
how powerful that
yeah.
is.
And you're speaking how to teach it to kids. Yeah, you model it yourself.
Sure. Yeah,
Forgive
modeling it
yourself.
and
Mhm.
really, explaining that, the word sorry isn't a magic wand, and I think some people feel that forgiveness is, "I'm sorry," you know,
Mhm.
and we tend to that's the level we get to with children to teach them forgiveness, like, "Say you're sorry."
I
That
know.
that's
You
surface.
Yeah, and forcing
Because
them to do it, that's
it's like,
so it never
"Say you're
works.
sorry." It's just like, "Oh, sorry," and they kinda just, it's like, "Well, if I say the word, it all goes away," and there's more work that needs to be done where demonstrating a true apology.
Mhm,
If Heidi, if I did wrong by you, I would want to ask you for forgiveness. I would first wanna understand you. I would want to express to you and get confirmation from you what I did wrong. Mm, were you hurt when I said this? Yes, right?
mhm.
And then that empathy, if I could understand how that could have hurt you, will
Mm.
you forgive me? Because that's
Aw.
different than sorry. It's
Yes.
you're and then allowing the person to accept that apology or not, and being okay either way. That's a trick because some
Mhm.
people will not accept the apology, and that's sort of that next level of you have to be okay with that too,
Yeah, you have to be able to accept that. That's yeah. But
because
as
that's an
long as
option.
you are genuinely giving that out, it's still gonna have the benefits. Mhm,
Sure. And so I think
mhm,
that when we're thinking of longevity starting young, all of the factors that we know go into longevity, that go into health, nutrition, lifestyle, but also the emotional components, forgiveness, social bonds, family, friends, that starts young.
mhm.
And I'm lucky enough to have friendships from when I was like in first grade, second grade, and
That's sweet.
I can tell you that that is an amazing thing. Um, I'm lucky in that respect.
Yeah.
I don't know what
I
your
have a friend
longest
yeah.
friendship is, Heidi, but
Well, it's so fun. I have a friend from 5th grade that found me on, MySpace. The My
nice.
and then I have, yeah, grade school Facebook friends and stuff like that are old school, and what's nice is they, give you the freedom to expand. They ride with you as you grow and without judgment. It's like, "Well, you aren't the same when you were that age." So they're, like, just allowing you to evolve,
Mhm.
and they're still your friend. Like, that feels good.
Yeah.
Um,
They know the
lot fall from the
origin
ways
story.
right. Right, those that fall from the wayside, you realize, well, they only liked that version of me, but I can never remain the one version. We'll always grow. That's very important. That's the emotional and social thing. I also wanted to
Correct.
go back with and really stress that when we talk longevity of health and routine with kids,
Mhm.
that if you watch all our past episodes, there's so much grace in being human. Like,
Mhm.
yes, have great routines, but if something's off, it's okay. Like the
Yeah.
stress is the worst part of it. And I think that's where maybe parents are finding this like guilt and shame of, oh, I was inconsistent this week, and or
Right.
bedtimes were low, or oh, we ate junk food today. Like
Right.
you're still modeling behavior. Do not stress and get anxious over falling off routine. Just show how easy it is to get right back on. And I
Yeah.
think that's a big to do. Is just because I when I hear that, I can picture parents go, oh no, well, we had all this junk when we were little. They're ruined.
And
Like,
what is that? That's
no,
real-time forgiveness,
yeah. And
right? I mean, that's
recognizing
really
it in the first place is
like
beginning
just
of healing.
being there in the moment, being present, and
Mhm.
are you beating yourself up? I mean,
Mhm.
recognizing that because
Mhm.
again, um, what happened, and we put value judgments on these things, and the other thing to consider is like you actually don't you never know with 100% certainty that some quote unquote bad thing that happened even was a net bad, right? I mean,
Right.
if you really wanted to
Right.
get deep on it, it could because many times those things are great because you can meet them with a level of awareness that's saying, ah, beautiful, a nice little lesson here, awesome, and then you can make an adjustment, and it's that adjustment that gave you a far bigger reward than if that quote unquote negative thing never happened.
Mhm.
And I've
Mm.
spoken on that, right, where a
Mhm.
health challenge comes along and it allows there to be a tremendous amount of focus on the one problem, but that focus on the one problem carried over into benefits that help all other aspects of life, and you end up with a better situation, right? So
Yeah.
there's gifts in all of this. In all of
Mhm.
this. My kidney um, birth defect, right? Realizing I had that focused me at a young age and wanting to do certain things because it kind of scared me when I was young.
Yeah.
But again, taking that fear and turning that into something that's like, okay, I'll be mindful of my health. I can't be certain that I would be the same person without that. And
Mhm.
right? So that particular challenge actually focused me in a direction in my life that probably resulted in me being a healthier person.
Mhm. Oh, I
So
like that.
this is
Yeah.
where we, doing these mental exercises and looking at life through the lens of a lesson allows you to just be in that real-time mode. It's a constant fluid modality. It's not like, oh, there's a judge jury verdict happening all the time. You can't get it back. It's kind of like it's all we blew it. The all or nothing syndrome that
Mhm.
people have. Now it's ruined.
Mhm.
A lot
Mhm.
of programs, which I think are good. Also, though, well, I'm just going to call it out. Whether it's like AA or something where there's this stress on these consecutive days and you've been sober and then people slip and it feels like, oh my, I undid all that. And
Yeah. I'm
it's
so glad you bringing this up because yeah,
that's a very
there's a
real
focus
thing.
on don't, you know.
Don't and
Mhm.
like I get it. I get both sides of it of like, okay, but you kind of have to approach it on the day and say, I can only really dictate what's happening today. But
Mhm.
to be able to forgive yourself if we're human, we're gonna slip.
Yeah. Oh
And
my
those
god.
slips might
Yeah.
not mean that slip might be for the best.
And sometimes things will come up from your past that maybe you buried when you start forgiving, or you come up with a health concern later in life and you relate it to something when you're young. That's going to trigger something else too, emotionally, mentally. And you go through
Sure,
with that round of healing, you'll be able to process what you have to go through later in life much faster and much smoother, I feel. I mean,
sure.
it sounds random, but case in point, this is what I'm getting at basically.
Yeah,
Remember summer episodes, and I had so much problem with my gums and my
yeah.
teeth. And I'm like, huh. And, my kids were relating it to my midnight snacking or middle of the night breastfeeding and trying to wake up so I eat, those things. But I also related it back to age 18, starting 10 years of bulimia. And
Mhm.
I really did not, I buried that. When I ended that and healed it, I was like, oh, that's gone. But I didn't really take care of down the road what was going to happen to me, and I
Mhm.
relate it to it. So I had to process, oh my gosh, yeah, I was putting myself through that. I really went through another round of healing that era. And then I tell you, even the people that were working on me for a while, like, wow, you're think we're done here. Like, you've been
Mhm.
healing up so fast. Cause I was like, I'm so sorry, apologize. I apologize to my mouth. I apologize to my body. I was like, I got this. We can do this. And it was like double time recovery. It was fast. And I was like,
Interesting.
it was really
Interesting.
kind of neat. Remember all the time we'd rap and I'd be like, I'm concerned about my heart. And it would relate back to, I'd think of that era and be like, what did I do
Mhm.
down the road? I've been doing the process and the healing and
Yeah.
focusing on it. And everywhere I go and the work I get done, they're like, oh, you're good. You're doing all right. I'm like, whew. I think it would have
Yeah.
gotten a lot worse if I still was like, stupid me. Why did I do that? And
Absolutely. I think this
oh,
is
I'm
a
such an
brilliant
idiot.
example,
I,
Heidi. This is a
I knew no
brilliant
better. Yeah.
example of this, of uh, doing some pretty tricky work there, and it's a brilliant example of how that can lead
Mm.
to healing. There's that expression of we need to be, the person that we needed when we were young. I
Yeah.
think healing our own inner child enables us to then, if we do have children or we're mentoring younger ones, we're in a position to to be something for these children that maybe we didn't get, and to nobody's fault, right? To nobody, to just for whatever reason, and really, let's face it, I don't think there's a human alive that had a perfect
I know.
childhood, and
And if they say they did, they're lying.
there's something a little weird, and almost felt it's almost bizarre when you really think of, there will be inevitably areas, and I think that's just kind of the life quest of sorting those out, and then it's kind of each one teach one, and we all come together. We're sharing knowledge every couple of weeks with these shows. We're just kind of advancing the conversation, getting people to think of these things, and it's imperfect, and it's updated, and it's
Perfectly
upgraded.
imperfect.
It's perfectly imperfect, but
Mhm.
yeah, I wanted to touch on today in kind of a brief episode today, but think of the idea of longevity, starting young, whether that take that for your own children or take that for yourself, that
Mhm.
the longevity you might reap might come from going back to your own childhood, and solving and forgiving and
Mhm.
healing. And we're on the brink of some beautiful discoveries in the scientific end of this, of longevity, the science.
Mhm.
And it's fascinating how it keeps coming back to holistic, it all matters. Food,
Mhm.
lifestyle, exercise, forgiveness, mental
Uh,
health,
mental health, emotion, yep,
emotional health, social
relationships. It's
bonds.
all health. Mhm. It's
It's
all
all
health.
health.
I'm also hearing through this compassion, empathy,
Mhm.
empowerment. I'm hearing all of these beautiful we didn't exactly say those words, but it's a
Mhm.
thread because that's how you have to treat it, you know? I
It's
don't think
underlying.
yeah, it's because it's meant to be layers of work uncovered little bits at a time. And the more you can handle that with compassion and grace, there's a little more longevity there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that it goes to nature, you know, rewarding when they say survival of the fittest, rewarding the most adaptable, and we
Hmm.
put ourselves in a position, to get those rewards from biology when we're showing the world, we're showing biology, we are adaptable, we are accepting. If we're at
Hmm.
odds with the world, if we're at odds with our environment,
Yeah.
biology kind of sees that as sort of telling it, well, what's my point? But
Hmm.
when we, I mean, that sounds
Hmm.
harsh, but
Hmm.
when we
I
think
get
of
it.
fitness, it isn't just it, the Darwinian evolution. It's not just strong. It's adaptability that matters. It's not just physical strength. We tend to think of it like it's not just strength, like physical strength. It's adaptability, and adaptability comes from grace and comes from accepting. And that is a
Hmm.
form of that, right? When you do have it, you're not in opposition to reality. You're meeting it. You're leaning into it. You're accepting of it. It doesn't necessarily mean you think it's a great thing. But you're seeing things as they are, and allowing there to be the lesson emerging from that, because I really subscribe to that idea that packed in any problem are not only the solution to the problem, but potentially solutions to far more problems for the future. It sets you up.
I bet you
So
see that a lot
longevity,
with clients.
yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
longevity starts young, and this will be to be continued. I think we're going to hit this subject again in a future episode, but let's think
Would love.
about that for the next couple of weeks till our next
Yeah.
episode.
Perfect. Yes, and please chime in and let us know what you'd like to discuss. And gentle reminder, kidsgethealthy.com, and you can reach Lawrence at kidsgethealthy.com. And shout out to our friends at Rainbow Chefs Academy doing big things for children's nutrition and their school lunches in our school systems. And for that awesome grid you just saw, Instagram, Kids Get Healthy
Hmm.
USA.
Yeah,
Super
you
good
can,
stuff.
message me there, follow me, engage, and look forward to hearing from any of you.
Yeah. Any final remarks? How are we doing? We are short
Uh,
but sweet.
it's short but sweet. Yeah, final remarks. Just be good to each other, you know, and
Yeah.
forgiveness. Forgiveness is,
Forgiveness.
I think a big word. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Connect
Think
those
of
emotions to your health, mental health.
connect the
Mhm.
dots. Yes.
Connect the dots. La la la.
La
Yes,
la la
beautiful.
la.
Thank you, folks. Again, you can check this Rumble, YouTube, Facebook Live events. Please hit like and subscribe. We are grateful to be on this journey selflessly for you, and we thank you very much for tuning in. Yeah, we're
Thank
gonna
you so
close it out
much.
with Kids Get Healthy trailer, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.